Hello everybody and welcome to this playthrough for Rookie Division with various wins for the Namei Cliffs and the Yongsan Gardens in the Korean Classics Tournament here in Golf Clash the Game. Before we take a closer look at all the videos, make sure to hit the thumbs up button, also subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications. For those of you that you want to take the next step in their game, you go to patreon.com/golfclashtommy. You have the link in the description down below. You can also scan the QR code here on the screen. Follow the info box on the right hand side for the club distance adjustment, elevation adjustment, also what ball and club type I suggest you to play with. Have in mind that those are all suggestions and you don't have to follow it if you don't want to, but there is always a plan behind it. So let's go to hole number 1. On hole number 5, we do have a short par 4 to play. If we do have a crosswind or a tailwind, we shall be pushing to try to get the ball over to the final fairway like that, and then we can definitely go for the hole in a we can definitely go for the pin. But now we're going to have to settle and play for the final fairway island and bounce ourselves up towards the green for a simple wedge. Obviously, having more topspin, apply a little bit more topspin, as 4.5 is a little bit on the low side when it comes to the extra mile. But this is the best driver I do have on this account. Maximum distance plus 10 is what I'm using here from front tee, and I would say playing this type of play, a power 5 ball may not be required, but in general I would say a power 5 ball will be very helpful to always have the distance to reach. Now we're over to the final fairway and we will take ourselves a short and sweet eagle wedge, which we're gonna take a look at here in the end. So here I would say when it comes to the wedges, and I say this every time I do make a playthrough for those of you that are playing in rookie divisions, choose a wedge that do have a good ball guideline, because it will help you a lot in doing shots like this, where we can do with the Firefly with all the topspin, but most especially helps you with knowing if you're aiming correct or not. Because having a very poor ball guideline is very easy to aim too short or too long, and that will make it come in short in line or maybe hot and hit the pin and bounce out. Now we have a good ball guideline, then the eagle becomes very easy. Hole number 2 is one of the few par 3s, or I would say I think this is the only par 3 where we are actually using a short iron towards the pin. And that is obviously where I'm playing from the front tee. It's a very short par 3 with a very good chance for a drop. And this is the way to play it. The green slightly slopes right to left, so you're going to have to aim on the right side of the pin. When we do have a bad ball guideline, such as we do have with the Thorn level 5, we need to make sure that we are clearly right side of the pin, because we don't really see how it turns to the left on the green. Maximum distance with a 15% over adjustment, I'm using 0.8 bars of topspin. I would be using a little backspin in tailwind, and I would be using no spin in crosswind. I'm hitting a great right, and here you can see that getting a drop here with a hole-in-one means obviously that we were aiming too far left. So again, you need to move enough to the right with your target to make sure that you can get the hole-in-one in a more consistent way, and then your opponent can continue laughing at you while you make that drop. So on hole number 9 here, this is a very interesting par 5, where with a good tailwind, we are most definitely able to send this ball to green, or to be close to green, either using the right hand fairway on the top right, or the center using those fairway islands to use a topspin boost ball and bounce it down there, depending on, once again, what tee box you're playing, also what type of ball and clubs you're having. However, we are kind of stuck here now with our extra mile. So I'm going to try to find a way of laying up, which would in the end become a way of playing if we do not have a tailwind of tee. So I'm gonna lay up on the very far left, as I'm restricted to 4.5 topspin, can't use more than that. Adjustment is gonna be max plus 20 from here. And I'm using a power 5 ball mainly for the second shot, not so much for the drive. Perfect ball it is. and we are looking to get as far down the fairway possible, obviously without risking too much, because it is easy with pushing too hard and then might just be poor execution and we roll into the rough. Now, second shot from here is not the best I've done in my life, but at least it displays the idea with this type of play, which is, number one, you can go for a rough bump. I believe that the rough bump is the best way to play this shot. However, you will have to have a sniper 8, or you have to have a big dog or cataclysm to allow yourself to have more topspin if playing this one in slight headwind. Because if playing this one, even if aiming through the hole, we will not have speed enough to get to the hole, and it will then curve off to the right once it loses speed. You can obviously bounce on the fairway as well as the second alternative here. That would be, I would say, a tougher one to drop consistently, but it will obviously remove any sort of risk that you may feel with this type of rough bump. I personally don't feel any risk with this rough bump, but I know there are people watching here that do feel that rough bump takes an unnecessary risk and might just be interested in locking in the eagle and move on. And that's totally fine. You can see here now that we're not having speed enough, it curves off to the right, but the line was good and we just need more topspin. So hole number 9, many different ways I believe we can play this hole on, and it's going to be very interesting to see this in the tournament, but also if this course happen to be in tour play in the future as well, to then see what way we can play this hole. The Cliff Shootout, as it's called, and this is honestly one of the tougher par 3s from any tee to drop consistently, and that is because it's a very bumpy fairway that we're bouncing on, and we are landing on a very bumpy green. So getting this hole in one consistently is something that we are going to have to forget, regardless of what tee box we are playing from and what club and what ball we're having. But what we can do at least is that we can do our best, obviously. So the idea here is to get the ball to go at the top of the green to fall down towards the pin. This will leave us room from not having to bounce very close to the water, because you will notice when you play against your opponents that if they don't really know how to attack this hole, they will fall down into the water and lose a shot. I'm using a Quasar ball or a Navigator depending on what wind direction I'm going to have, but I'm keeping myself with the Power 1 ball, using the Sniper as it does have a good ball guideline and a good accuracy. 20% elevation, medium distance here for hole number 8. For hole number 6, we should just pray to not get headwind. And unfortunately, we do have headwind here in the video. But I wanted to display that even if you do have headwind, there is a way of bouncing on the fairway pad over the water. But it's still going to be risky. So I wouldn't really recommend to do this type of play if you don't have the possibility to play with a Power 3 ball minimum. If you do have a tailwind here, you can even play with a Power 1 ball. You will still have the wind help the ball be carried over the water and land nicely on the fairway. So the ultimate outcome here is that we bounce on the fairway on the island and then get the ball to be closer towards the green. That will leave a wedge, or it will leave a short iron close to minimum distance. I'm using the big topper to give myself the most topspin possible, because we do want to use a lot of topspin to make sure that we do carry over the water. Second shot, I want to play with a short iron here. So if I would be clipping rough like I did on my drive, then I would make sure to use a little bit of topspin instead to make sure that I can play with my short iron instead of my long iron. Here, if you do have a bad ball guideline, which is what I'm having here, then I would strongly advise you to back up and make sure that you do have room for the rollout, because the worst thing you can do here is to come in too hot, and that's obviously never going to drop. 20% elevation, true club distance. So if you are at max distance, which we are now in the video, then we're going to use max distance. But the most likely outcome if you don't clip the rough is that you are somewhere between minimum and medium distance of your club. Bounces on the fairway and it gets down towards the green, and this time we drop it for a lovely albatross here on hole number 6. Take your game to the next level with our ultimate tournament text guides for expert and master division, not just for 18-hole tournaments but also for 9-hole cups. You can scan the QR code here on the screen or go directly to patreon.com/golfclashtommy using the link in the description down below. You will notice there that we do not just offer tournament guides. We do have a checkpoint challenge guides and tour play guides, and you can start as low as $1.50 per month. If you do have any questions or want to see any example guides, you can email support@golfclashtommy.com. So sign up and start improving your game today. On hole number 7, we are going for pin, especially from the front tee. Here we're using a power 5 ball, and we're using 2 left spin, and we're using 2 back spin. Aiming to where I do believe we are aiming for the pin. It's obviously difficult when we do not have a good good ball guideline on our extra mile. Look at that view, by the way. It's I must say this is probably the most insane course insane hole I've ever played in Golf Clash, based off the design. Maximum distance with a 30% elevation. We're playing massively downhill, which is the only tricky part when it comes to this hole. And now we're basically playing this par 4 as a par 3, where there will be people making a hole in 1. So nice, simple eagle on hole 7. For hole number 9, we're gonna play another rough bump, and here obviously you can see now we're playing from front tee, obviously, but playing from different tee boxes will be making it pretty difficult from second and third tee, whereof the front tee here is actually fairly simple. I'm using 6 topspin, 1 right spin, ball guideline to be once again short of pin, as I'm not having a fully developed ball guideline. So approximately 1 green square short of pin is where I'm ending up to do in the end. So I'm playing medium distance with a 5% elevation, and playing with a navigator here just to reduce the wind as much as I can, but still keep obviously it completely free to play. Perfect ball it is, and you can see here that we do have a lot of room on this rough to bounce, and it rolls up the green and getting in the hole for a lovely hole in 1 here on hole number 9. Hole number 5 offers a good chance for a drop in my opinion, and I do believe if you're going to have anything to do to fight for any of the top medals, this is a par 4 you need to consistently drop. But how to play this hole then? You start with using the driver with the most power possible. I'm using my extra mile, I'm using also a marlin. I'm aiming to have the ball up towards the corner of the top right of the fairway. Maximum distance with a 10% over adjustment, and the spin will vary depending on what wind direction you're having off tee. Now you can see here for the second shot, this is not going to be a downhill adjustment. This is going to rather be uphill than it's going to be downhill, and we are playing with no elevation here, trying to measure the club distance in the correct possible way. This is a shot that I've been playing for a very long time, because the Namei Cliffs has been in the game for a long time, and therefore this hole has been in the game for a long time. So I've been having a lot of practice here. That's why I do like to do the first bounce on the fairway instead of going towards the green, because the green is inconsistent in my opinion. So bouncing with the first bounce on the fairway with the ball guideline pointing towards the hole, it's always going to be somewhere between half a bar to 1 bar of backspin, depending on how close you are to the rough line after your drive. Medium distance, no elevation, and we bounce nicely to get right into the hole with a marlin ball. So a very cheap eagle for the Namei Cliffs hole number 5. Hole number 9, and this is going to be a tough par 5 to consistently drop, and the reason for that is the bumpy fairways. There is not a lot of room for faulty adjustments and stuff like that here, and that's the difficult part in my opinion. So what I would like to say here is that we start with the quarterback using all the left spin that we can, combined with 3 to 5 bars of topspin, depending on what amount you're having. The maximum topspin with the quarterback is 5 bars if you do have it in a max level. Adjustment max plus 15, and we're going to use some left curl. The goal here is to get the ball to be on the left of the second fairway. Because once we're getting there, we do have an open shot towards the fairway pad to bounce it towards the green. Now it is important to make sure to give yourself some room in terms of having the second bounce to be clearly over the rough line. If you do like I'm doing here in the video, you will never be in any risk of getting the ball into the water, even if you may make a bad adjustment, or you might underpower a little bit or overpower a little bit, then you will still be safe on the green. But if making the correct adjustment, then you will see yourself being very close dropping an albatross. 10% elevation is what I'm using here. I'm trying to use true club distance number, and here I was closer to minimum distance than medium distance, which makes sense that I did over adjust my shot by using the medium adjustment. So make sure to judge the club distance in the best way possible, use the 10% elevation, and give yourself a chance for a drop on hole number 9. Thank you so much everybody for watching this playthrough for Rookie Division for the Namei Cliffs and the Yongsan Gardens in the Korean Classics tournament here in Golf Clash the Game. Scan the QR code here on the screen or go directly to patreon.com/golfclashtommy. We do have something for each and every one: checkpoint challenge guides, tour guides, and also tournament guides. In the end, I want to wish you the best of luck in your Golf Clash game.